Yes. My name is Dee Dee Wilsey. I'm president of the Fine Arts Museums. I'd like to remind you that you're in one now. This is the De Young. We have another beautiful museum, the Legion of Honor, over in Lincoln Park. I always like to give a plug to the other sister museum wherever we are. But today we are in the most exciting place in San Francisco, in my opinion. And I have been waiting for this moment for about 18 months since we planned this show, and probably all my life, because there's nothing I like better than French anything. I was thinking to myself this morning, I even had a French poodle when I was a young girl, and I was brought up in Europe and loved everything that looked French, acted French, spoke French, or tasted French. And so to come here and have this collection today is just a dream come true. And I want to thank Guy Cocheval, who made this possible by closing part of the Musée d'Orsay. And it is so fortuitous for us that he decided to do that, because obviously we wouldn't have these masterpieces if they were still hanging there. We feel we've done a really good job of it, and I hope you will agree with us. But we will have the second part of this collection, as you know, in September, and that will be another great treat, and we will invite you back at that time. But today is our great pleasure to introduce the beginning of Impressionism, and you will see it in a few minutes. But right this moment, it is my great pleasure to introduce the mayor of the city and county of San Francisco, the great friend of the Fine Arts Museums as well, Gavin Newsom.
And the person that made you late, all of you, or whatever your respective events were, and wherever you're off to next. So thank you all very much, and my apologies for being late. It was all relevant because we were down at City Hall getting stuck on the last 24 hours of budget debate as we get our budget to the printer this weekend. All of this, Guy, means nothing to you. So God bless you for allowing me to indulge with that. But nonetheless, I do apologize, and want to thank everybody for being here. I want to congratulate Dee Dee and John on yet another grand accomplishment for this extraordinary museum and our fine arts museums. It seems like every few months we're not only in this room, but we're celebrating another milestone for the Fine Arts Museums in San Francisco. Really, the promise of this renovation is being exercised. It's been manifested. There was so much hope and expectation that Dee Dee and her team and the board would come together and raise the requisite amount of money and get world-class architects like Herzog and de Morin here and do something that was iconic and something that would generate worldwide praise and attention. It certainly has done that. We would not be here have it not been for their stewardship and their leadership, and as Dee Dee was just saying, their passion. And that passion, as they say in life, persuades. And it persuaded Guy and others that San Francisco is the place to allow for this arguably once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see what some of us have been privileged to see when we head over to our sister city in Paris. And I had the privilege about a year and a half ago celebrating our sister city relationship, and went up, as John likes to say, as so many of the tourists like myself do, to the third floor first at the Musée d'Orsay, because that's where so many of the sort of more iconic and spectacular, at least for the layperson, art is. For the sophisticants, it's of course everywhere in the museum as it transcends some of the more familiar works of art. But nonetheless, we are blessed that they will be celebrating, Guy, a 25th anniversary of that remarkable and unique museum. And if you've never been, I mean, I'm sure you will say this, it really is a spectacular museum. It's unlike any other, an old train station that's been transformed. But now, obviously, to celebrate its quarter of a century, they're going to bring it up to the next level. And because of that renovation, because of that work, they had to store some of their art. And rather than store it in a basement somewhere to collect dust, they've allowed it to be stored in a few selected cities. And San Francisco is one of just a few of those select cities. But no city is the beneficiary of getting the second exhibit, which we will be having, well, I imagine it's already arrived. It's probably somewhere. But that will be curated and will be put on display in a few months. So we get something no other city, Tokyo, Madrid, even Nashville. I saw Nashville, fabulous. That Nashville is getting a portion of this. We'll get something that no other city has received, and that truly is special. And so I'm here just to, again, thank them, all three of you, for your incredible generosity. You didn't need to do this because we could just survive the Fine Arts Museum doing what we've done and continue to see those numbers increase. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, in spite of a recession, in spite of all the macroeconomic challenges around the globe, San Francisco's Fine Arts Museum, San Francisco's museums generally, including the Asian art, et cetera, we had a new study just came out, showed year-to-year growth, February to February, 09 to 010, of 42%, which is rather extraordinary, and I just deserves a round of applause. That's something wonderful. And now, here we're adding to that, and you can imagine what we'll experience year to year, February 2010 to February 2011, with what we have in store for our visitors starting this Saturday with this remarkable display of some of the most familiar and spectacular art that has ever been created. And we are indeed great beneficiaries of that. So thank you all for your interest. Your job now is to tell everyone you know about this exhibition. Get them here. Not just people from the city, friends and family, but folks all over the country that should be descending upon our city for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Promote it. Come back. Don't just come back once, because you'll never fully appreciate what you've seen. You need to come back multiple times, and you'll rediscover, as I'm sure Guy has rediscovered over the course of decades of hard work, that the art offers something different every single day, and a new insight every single day. And that's why we love artistic expression. It challenges us, it enlivens our senses, distills sensibilities that we didn't even know we had. And so I'm very grateful that you're here, and I'm grateful the press is going to be promoting this heavily without any burden of financial cost to the taxpayers of San Francisco. And we welcome you. Thank you all very much.
Well, good morning, everyone. For those of you I did not have the pleasure to meet, I'm John Buchanan, the very proud director of the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco. And Mayor Newsom, thank you for taking your time to share your perspective on museums, art, and culture. We are so proud to be museums of the city of San Francisco. It wields great clout throughout the world as we are negotiating and talking to our colleagues. San Francisco is a very interesting venue for other institutions really around the world. And we think that since San Francisco, in fact, is the catbird seat of the West Coast and maybe even the United States, that it's a wonderful venue to share art from other cultures, from other countries, and certainly from other collectors on an international basis. We're also proud to be affiliated with the city of San Francisco, and particularly with you, because you understand the value of art as part of the fabric of a great life in any city, not just for our tourist industry, but also for our high school groups, our elementary students, the families, and every constituency in San Francisco. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This is a great day for us at the museums, and it's a particularly proud moment for me. If you ask my wife, she would say anything that's made in France, John thinks is perfect. And while that's not quite true, I will tell you that French painting of the 19th century is my métier. I like many different kinds of art, but when you get to the 19th century, it really stimulates me and galvanizes me because, in fact, I find it an incredible phenomena that so many different artists working in so many styles, side by side, sometimes one against the other, sometimes in harmony, all existed in France and in particularly Paris at the middle of the 19th century. And it is the Musée d'Orsay, which is the great repository for much of this great work, bringing together not only the paintings from, as Mayor Newsom said, the third floor of classic Impressionism, but also artists of the salon, naturalist artists, realist artists, American expatriate artists. That's really, I think, the beauty of the Musée d'Orsay is its artistic diversity and richness and showing that great phenomena that occurred in Paris at the end of the 19th century. Many museum directors have wish lists of exhibitions they'd like to do, and certainly the exhibition that we're going to share with you today has been at the top of my list. And we are so lucky that Guy Cocheval and his colleagues decided and were able to enact a refurbishment of their museum in celebration and anticipation of the Gare d'Orsay's transformation 25 years ago into the Musée d'Orsay, and that Guy thought well enough of San Francisco to allow us to bring many of the masterpieces here. As Mayor Newsom alluded to the fact, we are going to present today the first of the two consecutive exhibitions, this entitled The Birth of Impressionism, the second, which will appear here commencing September the 25th, called Van Gogh, Gauguin, Cézanne, and Beyond, the post-impressionist masterpieces from the Musée d'Orsay. So we're really lucky that Guy, president of the Musée d'Orsay, thought well enough of San Francisco. As a sidebar, we're also really lucky that last week the volcano finally cooperated and allowed our planes to become airborne out of Europe and bring the last 3 shipments from Europe to San Francisco. I was on pins and needles, as were our staff here, that we might be having an exhibition and inviting you to something where we were only showing you posters on a wall. That's not the case, and so I thank the gods that we were able to fly and share with you these great works of art. I will tell you that projects like this require a lot of hard work and planning and organization, and the incubation of this project happened in February of 2009, where Mrs. Wilsey and I were visiting Paris for a big art auction. We happened to have dinner with Guy. He said, "Oh, I'm going to do the renovation, and if you'll stay for a few days longer, we'll talk about some exhibitions from our collection that might come to San Francisco." So we changed our plane tickets, as a matter of fact, and spent several days working with Guy and his staff on the creation of the exhibition that you'll see. So I want to first and foremost thank Guy and welcome him formally to San Francisco. I also want to thank 2 outstanding Orsay curators, Stéphane Guégan, who is with us today and will tour some of you through, as well as Alice Thomine, both of whom have been generous in sharing their insights and their information and their knowledge of French painting with us. And I also want to welcome the Orsay's Chief of Staff, Olivier Simard, Director of Exhibitions, Jean Naudin, and their Chief Operating Officer, Thierry Gosseran, to San Francisco, as well as my colleague, Maria Lopez, from the Mafra Foundation in Madrid, which was privileged to host this exhibition prior to its arrival in San Francisco. Now, you all know that big projects like this also require a lot of work, but it requires major investments on behalf of the museums. And so we're fortunate to have had some supreme and superior patronage here. Janique Littlefield and her family stepped forward to be the major private patrons of the exhibition. Our presenting corporate partner is Bank of America, always a great community citizen for us. The Osher Foundation, the Corrette Foundation, our San Francisco Auxiliary, and our own President Wilsey have all become major exhibition patrons and given us, as I like to say, the wind beneath our wings to bring projects like this to San Francisco. What you'll see today was organized by our internal curator, Dr. Lynn Orr, our senior curator of European paintings, working diligently with the Orsay curators over the past year. Our wonderful exhibition designer, Bill White, has brought life to these paintings. Bill Huggins brought light to them, and Teres Chan really ferried them around the world to be with us. So I want to thank those staff members for being with us. So, you know, I always say that seeing is believing, but before we break into groups and tour the exhibition, I'd like to call upon Guy Cocheval to say a few words to us today. He's traveled from afar to be with us. Guy is always traveling. I wanted him to come on Monday, but he said, no. It's the day the museum is closed in Paris, and I can work with the staff on organizing exhibitions. I'll come to you on Tuesday. So here he is, fresh off the plane for us, and here with us throughout the week to answer your questions and to share his perspective on the Musée d'Orsay. My colleague Guy Cocheval.
Mr. Mayor, Mrs. Wilsey, dear colleague John Buchanan, ladies and gentlemen, friends of the 19th century, I'm extremely moved to open this exhibition with you and to be at a few minutes from the revelation of this project that we have been working on rather quickly, actually, because you stress on the fact that it took 1 year and a half for such a big and ponderous exhibition. What allowed us to do this project is the fact that after 25 years, the Musée d'Orsay needs a renovation. And we have started working on the galleries, the upper galleries. We are creating 5 new stories inside the museum devoted to foreign in terms of not French, decorative art of the turn of the century. And we'll have more quicker and more effective elevators, and the visit will be simplified, I hope so, at the end of the year 2011. The first idea that we started to work on with John and Lind Orr was to do an exhibition around the year 1874. Why 1874? Because it is the year of the first Impressionist exhibition in Paris, and it is also, by chance, the year of the reopening of the Luxembourg Museum, which was the Museum of Modern Art, which meant at that time the museum that showed the living artists. When an artist would die, hopefully would go to the Louvre, like Corot, for instance, Millet during the period, that you will see represented here by some paintings. And slowly we started thinking of a traveling exhibition that would intermingle the end of academic art, the beginning of symbolist art, and there are 2 paintings by Gustave Moreau that are icons of early symbolism, one of which has been bought by the state in 1875. What is interesting in that kind of show is also to show the length of acquisition and the duration of acquisition in time. We are still acquiring many works of art, but it's always a great pride to show intelligent acquisitions of the state in the 19th century. And all this combined with certain icons of Impressionism. We have La Rue Montorgueil Pavoisée by Monet, which is represented in every book concerning Impressionism. We have La Gare Saint-Lazare, our version. I think there are 3 altogether in the world. We have the turkeys, big decorative panels that has never been on show so well here, because you have the proper lighting, which I had not in the upper galleries in the old version of the Musée d'Orsay. There are some details that appear here in the light and in the clever presentation of the Musée of the San Francisco Museum that have made us French. I speak in your name, the 5 or 6 French that are around me. We were extremely stunned by the beauty of the presentation, the intelligence of the speech around the work. I wanted to thank first of all the curators, Stéphane Guégan and Alice Tomine, and to insist on the importance of the choices of Lynn Orr, who had the exhibition in her mind from the beginning. I wanted to thank our friends and colleagues, Olivier Simard, Thierry Gosseron, and Jean Audin, who came from Paris and who have been part of organizing this show. I cannot remember everybody that has taken part inside the exhibition, but I know that it was a common effort, a common endeavor to obtain this success. And I hope you will enjoy the show because, of course, before edification, art brings joy, happiness, and changes your lives. Thank you very much.
So I think we're going to break into groups now, Jill, to tour the exhibition. Jill Lynch of our staff is going to be the choreographer of our groups, and we're just going to go out this lower door, I think.
Right, so if we will excuse our curators to go out into the galleries, and if you'd like to take our dignitaries as well, that would be great. And as I mentioned earlier, if you would like an audio tour, they're going to be right outside on the counter, so please help yourself. And be sure to stop by the sign-in table at the end of your visit to pick up your materials and a few goodies that we have from some of our art.